I was still wearing my cafe apron, stiff with the smell of burnt espresso and sugar syrup, when my stepmother walked into the kitchen and shut the door behind her with deliberate calm. She leaned against the counter, folded her arms across her chest, and told me I now owed her $800 a month if I wanted to keep living in the house I had grown up in. Her tone was smooth, practiced, as if she had rehearsed the speech in the mirror and finally found the perfect moment to deliver it. From upstairs, Blake shouted at his video game, his voice sharp and excited. Down the hallway, Luna filmed herself in the mirror, angling her phone just right, smiling at a version of herself that didn't exist outside a screen. And somehow, in the middle of all that noise, I was the one being told I needed to start contributing. I didn't argue. I didn't gasp or defend myself or ask how she could say something so absurd. I simply stood there, still, because she had no idea she had just pressed the one hidden switch capable of unraveling everything she thought she controlled. People tend to believe a house belongs to whoever lives in it the longest or pays the loudest bills. But for me, this place had been mine long before I understood the meaning of ownership or paperwork. It belonged to me in a quieter, deeper way. I was 8 years old when my mother died. The world didn't shatter dramatically, it went silent. A hollow, echoing quiet that settled into my chest and never fully left. My father was present in the technical sense, but grief hollowed him out, leaving a man who drifted through rooms without really seeing them. That was when my grandparents, Harold and Elise, stepped forward without hesitation. They sold their small home across the city and moved into this 4-bedroom house in Denver so I wouldn't have to leave my school, my neighborhood, or the last places that still felt familiar. They filled the space with warmth where grief had left gaps. In the evenings, Elise would sit beside me at the old dining table, patiently teaching me how to chop vegetables slowly and safely. She believed rushing ruined more than recipes. The smell of simmering broth filled the house, and her laughter softened corners I hadn't realized were sharp inside me. Harold worked outside in the garden, humming off-key as he pruned the roses my mother had planted years earlier. When the wind moved through the yard, it carried the faint illusion that my mother was still near. That was why the house mattered. It wasn't wood and drywall. It was memory layered over memory, love embedded into corners. Then Selena arrived. My father met her at a work function. Within months, she was standing in our living room, setting down polished suitcases and announcing, cheerfully, that she didn't mind the outdated decor. She smiled when she said it, but her eyes stayed cold. The first week, she reorganized the kitchen. The second week, Elise's ceramic bowls disappeared, replaced with sleek dishes Selena called modern. Harold never said anything, but I noticed the way his jaw tightened each time another piece of the past vanished. Her children followed soon after, settling in as if the house had always been waiting for them. Blake claimed the downstairs den for his gaming equipment. Luna occupied 2 closets and complained about the lighting for photos. I was 12 when the chores quietly began to slide onto my shoulders. At first, it was small, vacuuming, setting the table. Then laundry. Then everything else. When I asked why Blake and Luna didn't help, Selena tilted her head sympathetically and said, "They have different needs, sweetheart. You're more capable." My father never challenged her. He seemed relieved someone else was managing a household he had emotionally abandoned. By 16, I knew everyone's habits by heart. Blake slept until noon, leaving sour clothes in the hallway. Luna practiced exaggerated laughter in mirrors while filming makeup tutorials she never uploaded. Selena glided from room to room, fingers grazing surfaces as if inspecting them for flaws. She always paused near my mother's photo in the hallway but never acknowledged it. Outside the house, my life looked normal, school friends, part-time work. Inside, I was invisible labor, moving through rooms my grandparents had once protected for me. I told myself it was temporary. That silence was kindness. That endurance meant strength. But resentment doesn't disappear when ignored. It stacks quietly, layer upon layer, until even the smallest weight causes everything to shift. That shift began long before Selena demanded rent. The weeks leading up to her announcement were already stretched thin. I worked extra cafe shifts to afford online classes. Every night I came home to new responsibilities added casually to my routine. Laundry rotates on Tuesdays now, Selena would say, handing me Blake's basket, heavy with sweat and old snacks. The upstairs bathroom needs scrubbing again, she'd add, stepping around Luna's makeup-covered counter without comment. Remember the baseboards? Dust builds fast in old houses. She loved that phrase, old houses, as if it distanced her from the history within these walls. Blake lounged in the den. Luna filmed hallway videos surrounded by unopened boxes. If I passed behind her shot, she looked at me like background clutter. Sometimes she suggested I dress better to boost my confidence, then smiled sweetly at her phone. Selena escalated subtly. Bills appeared on the counter with my name highlighted. She criticized how I cooked, adjusted the stove behind my back, sighed loudly. She told my father I needed independence, always within earshot. The breaking point came one evening when I walked past her so-called meditation room. The door was cracked open. "She needs space, Richard," Selena said quietly. "Sending her to a college out of state would be best for everyone. She's holding us back. She's too attached to this house." My father murmured something indistinct. I stood frozen in the hallway, grocery bags cutting into my fingers, cold air clinging to my coat. She didn't just want chores off my plate. She wanted me gone. That night, folding towels under harsh fluorescent light, something inside me sharpened. Silence wasn't strength. Silence was what Selena relied on. And then I remembered something Elise once told me while kneading dough. "The moment you let someone rewrite your place in your own home," she'd said, "you lose more than space. You lose yourself." The next morning felt different, heavier, quieter. After washing Blake's dishes, I went to the storage room at the back of the house. The air still smelled faintly of lavender sachets. Dust danced in winter sunlight as I opened an old cedar chest. Inside were pieces of my grandparents' lives. And an envelope. My name written in Elisa's unmistakable hand. The documents inside confirmed what I'd never imagined. My grandparents hadn't just lived here. They'd purchased the house outright and transferred ownership to me years ago, quietly, deliberately. I sat on the floor, stunned, feeling their presence steady me. That afternoon, I drove to Marilyn, my mother's closest friend. She listened, then said simply, "This isn't just a house. It's your boundary." By the time I returned home, I was calm in a way I hadn't been in years. When Selena confronted me the next evening, papers ready, children watching, I finally spoke. "If you want to discuss money," I said evenly, "we do it as a family." When everyone gathered, I placed the envelope on the table. "This house," I said quietly, "legally belongs to me." Silence crashed down. Selena unraveled. My father confirmed the truth. I presented records, recordings, and finally the eviction notice. "This isn't revenge," I told her. "It's a boundary." 2 weeks later, the house was empty of her presence. Windows opened. Air returned. Marilyn moved in. We restored small things Elise loved. For the first time, the house felt safe again. Reclaiming this home wasn't about ownership. It was about choosing myself. Sometimes justice doesn't shout. Sometimes it simply lets you come home again.